Hello and welcome to QuizGents and this glorious quiz that we have for you today. We have 18 questions on a variety of topics, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Bring out a pen and paper and let's go. Question 1 is going to be about geography and flags. So which countries do these flags belong to? A, B, C, and D. Give you a second or two to think about that. And we'll move on to question number 2. And we're talking about logos. So we have 5 different logos here, A, B, C, D, and E. And can you name the company behind the logo? Great. Hopefully you'll get that. And we'll move on to question number 3. Here we're talking about world leaders and specifically UN Secretary Generals. So give the order when these men were UN Secretary Generals. Ban Ki-moon, Dag Hammarskjöld, we have U Thant, we have Trygve Lie and Boutros Boutros Ghali. So give the order in which they were generals, first to last. Question number 4. What do these abbreviations stand for? And these are abbreviations usually used in daily life, of course, but mainly on the internet and primarily by younger people. So A is BYOB, and then B is AFK, C is IRL, D is LOL, and E is SMH. So what do these abbreviations stand for? Moving on to question number 5. And this is the music rebus round, where we're going to give some pictures and you got to figure out which artist or band are hiding behind these pictures. So for example, we have Ali G here, and then we have the CIA and then Keys, which together becomes Alicia Keys. Great, I think you got what we're looking for. So the first question is, which singer are we looking for behind these 2 pictures? And it's a Swedish footballer that we're looking at picture number 1, for those who don't recognize. Moving on to question number 6, which rapper are we looking for behind these images? Should be fairly simple. Moving on to question number 7. And then which band are we looking for with these images? Awesome. Let's move on to the random round. And here's just some random questions on a variety of topics. And we're starting out with then question 8. To which answer is correct. So Donald Trump became the first former US president to have what happen? A, have his mugshot taken, get a hole-in-one, or get a Michelin star? Which is correct? A, B, or C? Moving on to question number 9. It's the idiot question. Can you see the Chinese wall from space? Let's see if you got that, and we'll move on to question number 10. So behind these letters there hides a very famous director. So solve the anagram. Which famous director hides here? First and last name. And then we got another film question, where we have, it's called the IMDb question, and we're getting a movie that it gets a 1-star review. And you have to figure out which movie this person, who definitely does not like it, is talking about. So the quote is, for this review is, "This movie is so predictable that it takes all of 10 minutes to figure it out. At that stage, you know you're going to waste another 2.5 hours watching this nonsense where people slip in and out of dreams in an attempt to fabricate a story where there was no story. If you haven't figured it out immediately, then chances are you won't by the time it's over, in which case you're also wasting 2.5 hours of your time. The only thing I got from watching this horrible, overrated, bloated cinematic experiment was a wish to kill myself. Maybe I'm dreaming too. See if you can figure out which movie he is talking about. Now we got some flower questions instead. So pair together these flowers and their Latin name. So A, B, C, D, and E, and the different ones you should connect them to is then Helianthus, Prunus dulcis, Sambucus, Hibiscus syriacus, Magnolia grandiflora. Yeah, I'm terrible at Latin, so I apologize for that. Hopefully you will get those answers correct. Moving on to question 18. Let's see here. Yes, are you sure is the new round that we're looking at. And in this round, we're going to ask questions that might be very obvious, or maybe not so obvious. Let's see if you can figure out if it's an obvious question or a not so obvious question. So the first question is, which is the world's largest desert? That's the first obvious or not obvious question. And then next question is, who invented the telephone? And finally, what is the capital of Germany? Great job. So moving on to the general knowledge round. And in this case, we are looking at here some chemical compounds. So pair together these chemical compounds and their molecular structures. So we got A, B, C, D, and E, and you have to figure out if they're connected to either caffeine, ethanol, nicotine, salicylic acid, and table salt. So hopefully you can find the right letter connected to the right chemical compound. Moving on. So now we've got some books instead. So we have some 5 very famous books, but can you name the author of these original books? So we got Frankenstein, The Christmas Carol, Dune, The Count of Monte Cristo, and The Grapes of Wrath. Who wrote these books? And our last question, question 18, is a film music round. So who has composed the music for these movies? So we have A, The Lord of the Rings, B, Titanic, C, James Bond, D, Jurassic Park, and E, Inception. And you have to choose between James Horner, Howard Shore, John Williams, Hans Zimmer, and John Barry. Hopefully you can figure out who composed the music for these movies. Great job! Thank you so much for joining. That was our last question, and now we're going to move into the answers. So, question 1, which countries do these flags belong to? So A is of course Vietnam, B is Argentina, C is Belarus, and D is India. Question 2, the name of the company behind the logos, we got Starbucks, Duolingo, Gucci, Target, and Audi. Are the answers for that. Question 3. Give the order when these men were UN Secretary General. Well, we start with D, Trygve Lie, then it's B, Dag Hammarskjöld, C, U Thant, E, Boutros Boutros-Ghali, and then A, Ban Ki-moon. Question 4. What do these abbreviations stand for? So A is then bring your own booze. Then we got away from keyboard, in real life, laughing out loud, and finally shaking my head. Question 4. Which singer? Well, it's of course Freddie Mercury is the singer that we're looking for. So it's Freddie Ljungberg, famous football player, and then we got Mercury, the periodic table there. And then we got of course Vanilla Ice is the rapper, fairly straightforward. And finally the Rembrandts as the band. So, question 8. Well, Donald Trump has the first former US president to have his mugshot taken. So A is the right answer. And then, have you seen the Chinese Wall from Space? No, you cannot see the Chinese Wall from Space. And then it's Quentin Tarantino that hides behind the anagram in question 10. Question 11, it's Inception that he's talking about. He didn't really not like Inception. Question 12, so sunflower is then A, and it's called Helianthus. And then B is Rose of Sharon, which is Hibiscus syriacus. And then C is elderflower, which is Sambucus. And then D is magnolia, which is Magnolia grandiflora. And then finally almond, which is Prunus dulcis. Then, are you sure? So these two questions where it's quite interesting. So first, the largest desert is Antarctica. And then question 14, who invented the telephone? The telephone was invented by Antonio Meucci. It was not invented by Graham Bell, as many people believe. And finally, the capital of Germany. It's very easy, of course, Berlin. No trick question there. And moving on to general knowledge. So question 16, pair the chemical compounds with the Millikan structure. So A is then salicylic acid, B is caffeine, C is ethanol, D is salt, and E is nicotine. Good job if you got that. Question 17, name the author of the original books. So we start with Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, and then B, Charles Dickens for Christmas Carol, Frank Herbert for Dune, Alexandre Dumas for Count of Monte Cristo, and then John Steinbeck for The Graves of Wrath. And finally, who composed the music to these films? So Lord of the Rings was Howard Shore, Titanic was James Horner, James Bond was John Barry, Jurassic Park was John Williams, and Inception was Hans Zimmer. Cool, awesome, great job everyone, and hope you had a good quizzing, and hope to see you next time. Bye.